Hello and welcome to our election special. I'm Frank Rausan Pereira, and today we will talk about West Bengal that has turned out to be one of the crucial states in this particular election. 9 seats in the state will go to polls on Sunday, May 19th. We will talk about those seats and we will also take a look at the larger picture in the state in the wake of the violence and the ensuing action taken by the Election Commission.
सत्ता के नशे में दीदी आप उसी लोकतंत्र का गला घोंटने पर उतारू है।
আসুন দিল্লি থেকে বিজেপিকে করব এবার খালি এবং আগামী 19 মে আসছে দিন সবাই মিলে শপথ নিন জোড়া ফুলে ভোট দিন বিজেপিকে বিদায় দিন।
People in Calcutta, people in Bengal is to not fall prey to this sort of a communal polarization.
हिंदुस्तान की कोई भी शक्ति नरेंद्र मोदी जी को प्रधानमंत्री नहीं बना सकती है।
Well, the situation in West Bengal has turned volatile with poll-related violence now taking center stage. Allegations and counter-allegations are flying thick and fast, with parties accusing each other of being responsible for the deteriorating situation. In a meeting with the Election Commission officials today, the BJP has alleged that there is a complete constitutional breakdown of governance in West Bengal. The party has also urged the Election Commission to take a number of measures, including action against criminals and history cheaters, to ensure free and fair polls in the state. The leaders have also demanded adequate deployment of central security forces during voting in the 7th phase. The meeting comes less than 24 hours after the Election Commission invoked Article 324 of the Constitution to curtail campaigning by a day in West Bengal following violence between BJP and TMC workers in Kolkata. According to the EC order, campaigning in 9 West Bengal constituencies is to end at 10 p.m. tonight. This means that campaigning for the final phase will end a day before schedule. The EC's decision comes a day after violence between BJP and Trinamool workers at Amit Shah's roadshow in Kolkata. A bust of 19th century Bengali icon Vidyasagar was also vandalized during the violence. The Election Commission also ordered the removal of Principal Secretary Home and additional Directors General CID from their postings in West Bengal. 9 of the state's 42 Lok Sabha seats are going to polls on May 19th. All right, then let me talk about the violence in West Bengal with my panelists at this point in time. Subir, senior journalist, joining us on the program. Deepak, Diwan, senior journalist as well. Subhomoy, Bhattacharjee, consulting editor of the Business Standard, and Alok, Goswami, associate editor, Panchjanya, joining me on the program. All right, let me start with you first. Subhomoy, violence in West Bengal, I mean, this is not something new. We've seen it in the past as well, but Article 324 being invoked for the first time by the Election Commission.
Yeah, tough times call for tough measures. Though, of course, the measure of how much it is tough is being debated. But West Bengal is new novice coming into the elections with a tough record of election-related violence. And this has got a very long history, as you must have discussed earlier also. And it's been on for several decades. It is that which is now coming to haunt all the parties. And that is where the problem lies. West Bengal, let me put it this way. Movements are not the sole prerogative of West Bengal. There have been other major movements. Jayaprakash Narayan movement of 1970s comes to my mind. There have been other major post-independence major movements. But none of those movements ever saw violence, and not just this one, this particular one, in those other cases in that organized a scale as it has always happened in West Bengal during elections. And this is something which is very, very endemic to West Bengal.
Sure.
It was there during the left front time. It was there even earlier. It's been there during Trinamool faced it actually, and they talked about it several times, and now they are sort of, they're the ruling party and coming along. What it has essentially got to do is with the fact that West Bengal sits at the cusp of, it's a highly densely packed state, population-wise. It's a state with 42 seats in a region, in a geographical region, which is less than most of the state with comparable states like Madhya Pradesh. But each of its constituencies are a mix of rural and urban. Each of those constituencies where the entire electorate is highly politicized, and this has again been a reflection of decades of escapation. One of the things that West Bengal can say to its credit is it was one of the first states to have brought in Panchayati Raj.
Right.
Cooperatives in Maharashtra has been a big thing. Schools in a couple of other states have been a big thing. In West Bengal, it was a Panchayati Raj, and that Panchayati Raj, that entire creation came in as a result of a political, mobilization. So, for instance, in West Bengal, you cannot have even earlier too. You couldn't have appointments to the lower levels of government offices without the clearance of the panchayat members. Even posting of sometimes doctors to local, to primary health centers and others, even those had to be cleared by the panchayats. Now, those all had positive sides, but what it also did was it created a very strong understanding of which way the political wind blew. All of this, therefore, creates a position where the ruling party gets a very strong organization to back it up when elections come along.
Right.
The flip side of it is when a contender comes along, which is trying to destabilize that order, you get
this. All right. Yes, Deepak, Diwan, you wanted to add something?
Well, I think whenever we have seen the ruling party being challenged by a strong force, the violence takes place. It had taken place when TMC was challenging Left Front. And the subsequent year, you didn't see that much violence. The first time when TMC was challenging Left, and when they took over in the State Assembly in 2011, there was mass violence everywhere. And the similar situation is now. It's the BJP which is challenging TMC there. Actual contest, people say, is between the TMC and the BJP. That's why there's a violence now. I mean, all the phases we have seen violence in West Bengal. In fact, the 9 seats which are going to the polls on Sunday, all these seats are being held by TMC. And last time, 2 seats, Kolkata East and South, the BJP was number 2. Now, BJP is giving them a challenge as an alternative, what they did in Tripura Assembly. The same thing is being tried here now, although it is a parliamentary election. Assembly elections are still 2 years ahead. So that's how this is happening. And I think the voting percentage, high percentage, shows that people are voting freely.
Right.
That's why elaborate security arrangements have been made everywhere, so that there's no intimidation and all that.
Right. Okay. Let me go and get a sense from the ground now. Subir De, senior journalist, joining us from Kolkata right now. Subir De, what is the situation as we speak right now in West Bengal? How bad is the situation on the ground? We know that over 70,000, forces have been deployed there to try and keep peace, to try and ensure that, everything goes on smoothly. But despite that, we've seen the kind of violence on our television screens.
See, what's happened is here. Actually, Trinamool Congress tried to hold their position in lastly, and they have a compulsion to hold their position due to cause of the lot of the scam happened in last 4 to 5 years, like Sarda, Narda, all the scam under the scanner of the CBI. So situation is demanding behalf of the Trinamool Congress, the holding the position in 40 seat, minimum 40 seat, due to cause to pressurize the government to stop the every inquiry organized by the CBI as per the order of the Honorable Supreme Court of India. So that is the situation, and now all the hooligans are assembling by the Trinamool Congress. Just see the Diamond Harbour Lok Sabha, and I am personally visit to several times in Diamond Harbour. They common people are not agreed to talk with the media people without permission of the local panchayat. See, and another position is Calcutta and Dum and Barasat, and overall position is same as well as the Diamond Harbour.
Okay. Okay, the situation on the ground is not very good, is what you're suggesting. People are scared to even go out and speak to the media. They, in fact, have to take permission before they speak to the media, is what you're suggesting. So, you know, Alok Goswami, I'd like to bring you into the picture now. You know, so all of this, there's only one loser, and that is democracy, and that's the country of India. So how do we set these things right?
Frank, I would like to start from the first thing first. The West Bengal today is in complete chaos. I don't think there is anything by the name of democracy is left there under TMC rule. Mamata has adopted the same style of functioning as communists. What they were doing 34 years in this whole state, they were ruining the whole democratic norms, democratic bodies, democratic institutions. So Mamata is indulged in the same kind of politics. And the TMC goons, they are openly challenging their adversaries, mainly BJP. So this thing should be clear in everybody's mind that there is
I'm sorry to cut you short, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Prime Minister is addressing a rally in Kolkata even as we speak right now, and he may speak about the violence as well. Let's take a listen.
ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी की प्राथमिकता है। आज ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर जी जहां भी होंगे वो देख रहे होंगे कि कौन सा दल बंगाल के गौरव की रक्षा के लिए लड़ रहा है और कौन घुसपैठियों की रक्षा के लिए काम कर रहा है। साथियों, ये भाजपा ही है जिसने बंगाल में हो रहे अत्याचार के खिलाफ सबसे पहले आवाज उठाई। यहां दुर्गा पूजा को लेकर दिक्कत है, सरस्वती पूजा को लेकर दिक्कत है, जय श्री राम बोलना भी यहां गुनाह हो गया है। बंगाल की जनता कुछ वर्षों से इन बातों से बहुत ज्यादा परेशान थी। इन विषयों को राष्ट्रीय पटल पर कौन लेकर के आया? कौन सी पार्टी आज बंगाल की आवाज बनी है? इसका जवाब एक ही है और वो है भारतीय जनता पार्टी। भाइयों और बहनों, हार की हताशा दीदी को इस तरह से डरा रही है, वो सरेआम धमकियों पर उतर आई है। आज सुबह सुबह ही मुझे जेल भेजने की धमकी दी गई है। कल मीडिया में मैंने देखा कि दीदी ने बीजेपी के दफ्तर पर, बीजेपी के ऑफिस पर कब्जा करने की भी धमकी दी है। दीदी बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ताओं के घर पर कब्जा करने की भी धमकी दे रही है। दीदी, जनता के बीच आपकी जो पहचान बनी है उसका कारण जमीन और प्रॉपर्टी के लिए आपकी अंधी दौड़ है। इसी मानसिकता से अब आपको बीजेपी के कार्यालयों को भी हड़पना है। इसी मानसिकता से पश्चिम बंगाल आपसे परेशान है और आपका बोरिया बिस्तर पैक करने की ठान चुका है।
Well, the Prime Minister there, Narendra Modi, addressing a rally in West Bengal, speaking about many things, of course, and one of them being the violence. Yes, Alok Goswami, go ahead. You were making a point.
Yes. I was talking about this violence and the whole democratic norms are being destroyed. So I was just talking to somebody in Calcutta just a day before, and the picture he showed me from there, it was a horrific picture. You know, so far in this election, 9 workers of BJP, they have been hacked, they have been killed, and they have been hanged. So this kind of thing is going on. And anybody who is trying to say anything against TMC government, against Mamata Banerjee, he's been silent, he's been cut short, or he's been, he's just vanished away. So this sort of things, do you think that a democratically elected government is functioning there? Is this the way that a government should carry on like this, or they can have any fair election there? And Prime Minister himself has said that you cannot speak Jai Shri Ram there. Why? Is it a gali, or is it a apshabd? Why Jai Shri Ram could not be said? Why one cannot say that okay, you can hoist your flag, you can put up your flag in anywhere you want, and let us, we the BJP people, we also want to put up our flag, but you are not allowed. And the story that PM was telling, the Vidyasagar statue, it's a 19th century, a great leader of Bengal, which is a land of freedom fighters, Bengal which is the land of Rabindranath Tagore, Bengal which is the land of Ramakrishna Paramhans, Bengal which is the land of Swami Vivekananda. Now that Bengal has been reduced to such a sorry state. I mean, if you look at the whole, a complete picture, it's in chaos. It's a total chaos. You can't see any democratically elected government functioning there. So that's how I put it.
Absolutely. All right. So violence, of course, has been, a major problem as far as West Bengal is concerned. We've been talking about it right from phase 1 to now lead up to the 7th and the final phase on the 19th of May. We can go on talking about it for the entire show, but we'd like to move on and talk about something else as well, and talk about, what this election really means and is for West Bengal and the people of this country. Over to my colleague Tina Jha, who's standing by in our data center now to bring us up to date with some numbers on West Bengal.
Well, thank you, Frank. And as is being discussed, quite a fierce battle that West Bengal is witnessing for all its 42 Lok Sabha seats this time around. A resurgent BJP is hoping to make a substantive increase in its tally in the state, while Mamata Banerjee, of course, is fighting it out to protect her turf. Until a few years ago, the BJP, Frank, did not even figure in the state's political dynamics. But this time, it is not just a strong contender in West Bengal, but of course, it is aiming to win as many number of seats as possible in this state. Like in 2014, West Bengal is witnessing a four-cornered contest with the TMC, the left, the Congress and the BJP contesting on all seats. Let's now talk about the last 2 general elections, that of 2009 and 2014, and which party stood where in terms of seats as well as vote share. Back in 2009, the BJP won just 1 of the 42 seats in West Bengal. The Congress party won 6, the Trinamool Congress won 19, the Left Front claimed 15, while 1 seat went to others. 5 years later, in 2014, when the Modi wave swept across the country, West Bengal gave BJP 2 seats. The Congress party came down from 6 seats to 4. The TMC emerged as the biggest winner, getting 34 of those 42 seats. The left parties, though, lost substantial ground, coming down from 15 seats in 2009 to only 2 in 2014. Now let's look at the vote share of all these parties. We see that back in 2009, the BJP had got 6.14% of votes. That translated into 1 seat for the party. The Congress's vote share, you can see, stood at 13%. The Trinamool Congress got 31% of the votes back then. The Left Front's vote share was the highest in 2009 at 43.3%, although they stood second behind the TMC in the seat tally. Nearly 6% votes back then were poured in favor of the others. In 2014, the BJP saw a notable jump in its vote share from 6% in 2009 to 17% in 2014. So although the party won only 2 seats, its vote base widened in the state. The Congress's vote share came down from 13% to 9.69% in 2014, while the Trinamool Congress increased its vote by more than 8 percentage points from 31% in 2009 to 39.79% in 2014. The left parties lost significant ground among voters, coming down this time to 29.95% votes. About 3% of the votes were polled in favor of the others. Now, in recent years, the political dynamics in the state of West Bengal has changed considerably. With the left front's decline and the Congress confined to a few small pockets, the BJP has grown into a formidable opposition force, and that is worrying the TMC. It emerged as the second largest party in the West Bengal Panchayat elections last year, indicating that the party's acceptability is steadily on the rise in West Bengal, Frank.
Pooja, thank you for taking us through those numbers there as far as West Bengal is concerned. 9 seats to go. We'll go to polls in the final phase on the 19th of May. We'll concentrate on those 9 seats a little later in the program. But we'll talk about West Bengal as a whole now, 42 seats, and how important it is in the landscape of Indian politics. Let me go across to Subir Dey now to try and understand what were the real issues on the ground in West Bengal. Any 2 particular issues that stood out? Of course, the violence was there. If we leave aside the violence, what else on the ground?
No, see, ground reality is a really horrible situation. And several issues here, like farmer issue, like unemployment issue, like statute public in university education, and commitment is lot of things, but perfectly not doing. And other issue is the domestic violence are organized by the political party, and Trinamool threat against Trinamool people also. And last few months, Trinamool Congress are really problem in West Bengal because of Abhishek group versus Mamata Banerjee group. It is a hidden issue, but now it is a problem. And all the syndicate run by the Abhishek Banerjee, it is a basic claim come from the common people of not only that South Chobbish Pargana, all over the West Bengal. That is the horrible situation, and okay. Threat is the basically a thing, and all the lumpens are associated with the Trinamool Congress. That is the major thing.
Okay, all right. I'll have to get in reactions from the others also. Subir Dey, thank you for joining me on the program and sharing your views. Yes, Deepak Diwan, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, I wanted to add to what Mr. Dey was saying. See, the Sharda scam has emerged as the biggest scam which happened during this rule of Mamata government. It is spilled over to even Assam and to some extent to Tripura, with a different name, Rose Valley Chit Fund, where scores of people, they have lost their savings. And you know what happened in the Supreme Court. There was when Mr. Rajiv Kumar, who's been yesterday transferred back to MHA from the post of CID head, when he was a commissioner, Kolkata Police, the Supreme Court clearly said that he's not, CBI raid, CBI went to his house to question him, and all that drama took place. So even Supreme Court said that this is not the way this investigation is being conducted properly. So the onus comes on Mamata government and her official machinery, and her machinery has collapsed. That's why EC had to take this action yesterday, where a senior official like Home Secretary of the state and other officials, they were relieved from their post because they were interfering in the election process.
Right.
So this is the state of affairs.
Yeah. Subhomoy Bhattacharjee, what, if anything, stood out over the last, 6 phases for you in West Bengal?
Yeah, in fact, right at the beginning, I had said that West Bengal will be the place where violence will be at its peak, and I'm sorry that's exactly what has been borne out. So I'm not surprised. I'd just like to step back at this point to say that all of this has its root in the economic disempowerment that happened since the 1960s. West Bengal was an industrial powerhouse. The partition gave it a major jolt, and lots of people came in, and the state had to absorb. But instead of expanding employment opportunities, I mean, today there's a lot of discussion that employment is not being expanded, but the original sin was then that instead of allowing employment to grow, the CPM, the Communist Party at the time, the undivided Communist Party, actually used that as the vote bank to create a massive amount of disaffection. And it was easy. The poor, they were extremely disaffected, they had lost everything, and that fight against the state just very rapidly spun out of control. And 60s ended with 3 governments coming into West Bengal in the span of 3 years. The United Front, the Congress, the Joint, then the United Front. You know, the governments were being toppled at almost like every winter, that sort of a situation. And why was it happening? Because essentially the people were looking for stability, but the parties were not able to create the stability. And then when the CPM came in as the leader in 1977, after 5 years of extreme, again, huge mayhem and destruction because of the Naxalite problem, these were all the reflections of the fact that the state was basically spinning out of any administrative control. And while the people were trying to vote for stability, that is what people would want in any democracy. What they were getting was instead parties' hegemony. So like CPM came in and they knew that they wouldn't be able to stand if they couldn't get the support of all the left parties. So they found what is called the left front.
Right.
And that left front gradually vanished. It became CPM's hegemony. By 1990s, it was just the CPM there. And they were, carrying on what is called absolutely burnt earth, scorched earth policy. No other component. Within that, when Trinamool came up, again trying to provide, because what the problem out here is that any democracy in other states where it has functioned, there are poor states, Orissa, Bihar. There's a balance between the opposition party and the government in power.
Right.
Power changes.
Sure.
This problem in West Bengal that has been created where power stays with the party in power and the party ensures that there's nobody else coming along is what we are seeing today.
Right.
And that is where the problem has intensified to this level.
Absolutely. Alok, Goswami, a comment from you and then I take a break.
I just wanted to add something from with this Subhomoy's statement. Once I was talking to Siddhartha Shankar Ray in his Kolkata's ancestral home and was trying to understand about the Naxalite movement and how this CPM came to power and all that. So during that talk, during that discussion, he told me that how this in 71 this Naxalite movement started and then how the CPM cadre and its CPM leaders gained control over the whole state. And now what I see in Mamta's functioning, she has adopted the whole tactics of running a government from the CPM bosses, from CPM government. What the functioning was, incorporate our people, our person, our cadre in all the bodies, whether it is a private body or it's a state government body. You incorporate your cadres there, take hold of that union or that junta and use that during the time of Panchayat elections or assembly elections or Lok Sabha elections. So the same modus operandi Mamata has adopted. That's what I wanted to say.
All right. Okay, we'll slip into a short break now. On the other side, we'll take a closer look at the 9 remaining seats that will go to polls in the final phase of voting, the 7th phase on May 19th. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
ईवीएम यानी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वोटिंग मशीन। इस मशीन में 2 यूनिट होती हैं, एक मतदान अधिकारी के पास और दूसरी कंपार्टमेंट के अंदर जहां से आप मतदान करते हैं। ईवीएम को चलाने के लिए बिजली की जरूरत नहीं होती क्योंकि ये चलती है बैटरी से। एक ईवीएम मशीन में अधिकतर 3840 वोट दर्ज हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अमूमन किसी एक मतदान केंद्र पर लगभग 1500 मतदाता ही वोट डालते हैं। हर ईवीएम में 16 उम्मीदवार के नाम जोड़े जा सकते हैं। अगर उम्मीदवार ज्यादा हों तो और मशीनों को जोड़ा जाता है। इस तरह 4 मशीनों तक को जोड़ा जा सकता है। ईवीएम की खास बात यह है कि इससे बूथ कैप्चरिंग काफी मुश्किल है, क्योंकि मशीन में 1 मिनट में सिर्फ 5 वोट ही डाले जा सकते हैं।
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajyanama on Rajya Sabha television with me, Rausan Pereira. We're going to concentrate on the 9 remaining seats in West Bengal that will go to polls on the 19th of May in just a few days' time from now on Sunday. Let's now go across to my colleague Tina Jha, who's standing by in our data center to get us some numbers as far as these 9 seats are concerned. Over to you, Tina.
Thank you, Frank, and welcome back to the data center. So what's interesting about West Bengal is that although the state has the 3rd highest number of Lok Sabha seats after Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, elections here this time are the most keenly watched across the country. So far, polling on 33 of the 42 Lok Sabha seats is already over, and now in the final phase, voting will be held on the remaining 9 seats, about which we are going to talk today. Now, these include Damdam, Barasat, Bashirhat, Joynagar, Mathurapur, Diamond Harbour, Jadavpur, Kolkata Dakshin and Kolkata Uttar. Let's first give you the last 2 results for the Damdam Lok Sabha constituency. In 2014, Saugata Roy of the Trinamool Congress won the Damdam parliamentary seat with 42.67% votes. Now, although his vote share came down by a little more than 4% than what he polled in 2009. In the 2009 elections, Saugata Roy won the seat with 47% votes. Now, this time, once again, he is in the fray, and pitted against him are Shamik Bhattacharjee of the BJP and Nepal Dev Bhattacharjee of the CPIM. Another seat that goes to polls on 19th of May is Barasat. In the year 2014, Dr. Kakoli Ghosh of the Trinamool Congress won the seat. Her vote share then was 41.39%. In the previous Lok Sabha elections, she had defeated Murtaza Hussain of the All India Forward Bloc to attain a 2nd parliamentary term with a margin of more than 1,73,000 votes. Dr. Kakoli Ghosh had won the seat back even in 2009, and that time her vote share was a little above 50%. In 2019, she is looking to win a 3rd consecutive term in the Lok Sabha. The All India Forward Bloc has fielded Haripad Biswas, while the Congress is being represented by Subrata Datta. The BJP has fielded Mrinal Kanti Debnath from here. And interestingly, the Shiv Sena has also put up a candidate here, Bani Chakrabarti. The party is contesting on 15 seats in West Bengal for the first time in a Lok Sabha election. The 3rd seat we are talking about today is Bashirhat, which is one of the most porous border districts and is often referred to as the hub of illegal immigration from Bangladesh. It was once a stronghold of the CPI for as many as 3 decades. In the last general election in 2014, the seat was won by TMC's Idris Ali. His vote share then was 38.65%. A decade ago, in 2009, Nurul Islam, again of the TMC, won with more than 46% votes. This time, the Trinamool Congress has fielded Tollywood's popular face Nusrat Jahan, replacing incumbent Idris Ali. And she is up against BJP State General Secretary Sayantan Basu, CPI's Pallab Sen Gupta and Congress's Qazi Abdur Rahim. Another seat that we'll talk about is Joynagar Parliamentary Constituency. Now, this seat was formed back in 1962. It is composed of 7 Vidhan Sabha segments and is a reserved seat. In the previous general elections in 2014, Pratima Mandal of the Trinamool Congress was elected as the Member of Parliament from this particular constituency. And she had got more than 4,94,000 votes. She defeated Subhash Naskar of the RSP then. In 2009, the seat was won by an independent, Dr. Tarun Mandal, and his vote share stood at 48.72%. This time, the prominent candidates in the fray from here, once again, are Pratima Mandal of the Trinamool Congress, Dr. Ashok of the BJP, Tapan Mandal of the Congress, and Shankar Dev Mandal of the BSP. Talking about the Mathurapur Parliamentary Constituency, now this is also reserved for candidates of the scheduled caste. It consists of 7 assembly segments, all of which fall under South 24 Parganas. In the last 2 general elections, the voters of Mathurapur had voted for the TMC, both in 2014 as well as in the 2009 general elections. Chaudhry Mohan Jatwa was elected the Member of Parliament from here. In 2014, his vote share was a little less than 50%, while in 2009, he got 53.95% of the total votes that were polled here. One of the seats where violence broke out between TMC and BJP workers is Diamond Harbour. In the previous 2 elections, the voters in this constituency sent TMC candidates to the Lok Sabha. In 2014, TMC's Abhishek Banerjee won with a vote share of 40.31%. 5 years earlier, the people had voted again for the TMC. That time, its candidate, Somendra Nath Mitra, had been sent to Parliament. Now, this time, Abhishek Banerjee is once again the candidate of the TMC, and he is up against Nilanjan Roy of the BJP. Soumya Roy has been fielded by the Congress Party and Fuad Halim by the CPIM. In Jadhavpur as well, the Trinamool Congress has had a successful run in the last 2 elections. The seat came into existence in 1977, and out of the 11 elections held here, 4 have gone in favour of the Trinamool Congress, 2 have gone in favour of the Congress Party, and 5 for the CPIM. In 2014, TMC's Sogata Bose won the seat with a vote share of nearly 46%. In 2009 as well, voters in the seat sent the party's candidate Kabir Suman to Lok Sabha, and he polled nearly 50% of the votes back then. Talking about Kolkata Dakshin Lok Sabha constituency. Now, this seat came into existence post delimitation in 2008. The seat has been a TMC stronghold since then, sending Subrata Bakshi of the party to Parliament in 2014 with nearly 37% of the votes. In fact, the seat was won by TMC Chief and current Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, back in 2009 with a huge vote share of over 57%. So this time, this is only going to be the 3rd general election that is going to be held here. The Kolkata Uttar or North seat is also a Trinamool Congress stronghold. It also came into existence following delimitation in 2008. In 2014 and 2009, senior TMC leader Sudeep Bandyopadhyay won from here. His vote share was over 52% in 2009, but that had gone down to just a little less than 36% in 2014. Back to you, Frank.
Right, Tina Jha, thank you for taking us through those details of all those 9 remaining seats that will go to polls in just a couple of days' time from now. Let me now take the chat to my panelists here and talk about what's likely to happen in the 9 remaining seats in West Bengal. Let me introduce on the program as well Deep Kumar, senior journalist, joining us from Kolkata right now. Deep Kumar, I'd like to get an understanding from you really as far as these 9 seats are concerned. What is it that we need to watch out for?
As it looks, the stakes are pretty high, it seems, because as far as BJP is concerned, it is putting concerted effort in the Basirhat and Dam. Also, they're putting a lot of their efforts in Calcutta North constituency. As far as Trinamool Congress is concerned, it looks that there is a bit of a trust factor trust deficit working here, especially in the Jadavpur Lok Sabha constituency, where they have fielded a popular starlet, Bengali film star, Mimi Chakravarti, and there is another in Diamond Harbour. It looks as if with the candidates of the opposition parties are constantly being harassed. It looks that there is an issue of TMC on the run, where if you look at the panchayat results, 94% of all seats of all the three-tier panchayats have been controlled by TMC. What is their, I mean, why they're harassing other candidates? Why they're not allowing people to get on with their job of canvassing and other things? It looks as if TMC is little bit on a shaky ground, despite their I mean, where their Supremo Mamata Banerjee is telling the world.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about a few aspects really as far as West Bengal is concerned. 9 seats. Where do you think? What are the most interesting seats or most interesting contexts going to be for you, Deepak Diwan?
As I mentioned to you, see, in the last elections also, Kolkata East and South, BJP stood number 2, the second party in terms of votes, although they could not make it. But as I'm saying now in your studio, I think BJP is emerging as an alternative to TMC in West Bengal. Now we have to see how much vote share they can grab to replace TMC. Whether they are successful or not, that we'll get to know on 23rd. But alternative has been offered to the people in the West Bengal.
Right, right, okay.
So that's why you see it's a survival fight for Mamata Banerjee.
Sure. Survival fight for Mamata Banerjee is what Deepak Diwan is suggesting. Subhomoy, you know, as far as West Bengal is concerned, where does this leave the left and the left parties? Because, you know, during the course of our discourse over the past 6 weeks or so, even before that, we've been only talking about how it's possibly going to be a two-cornered contest in West Bengal between Mamata Banerjee and BJP. Where does it leave the left?
Left behind, basically. That's fair. And it would have been interesting. I mean, I was looking to that impressive recital of data on the 9 seats. It'll be nice to see where was the left vote share in 2009 and 2014. My sense is it has migrated. It had migrated en masse, because you see the percentages of that Trinamool had established, where, you know, like colossal percentage victories, and that wouldn't have been possible unless there's en masse migration from the other parties. So basically they're sort of, you know, cleaning up the entire vote bank. What the BJP is doing now, as one understands, and of course Mr. Alok Goswami will be able to say it better, is I suspect what they're trying to do is they're trying to win that vote bank back towards them. The Trinamool is there, but their primary focus would be on taking on the left. And it might seem surprising, but that's how, you know, it's globally also it's happening, that a lot of left parties across the world, I mean, they are losing their cadre to more right-wing parties. So I'll not be surprised if the same thing is at play at West Bengal.
Right.
But despite that, these are, you know, very hard Trinamool constituencies, as the margins show. And here for BJP, if they can win even one of those, would show that it really has, has come there. BJP's better showings are all in the regions above the Ganga, on the slightly northern side of the plain. This side is because of their demographic structure, lots of reasons. These are like the pocket boroughs of Trinamool.
Right.
And to be able to make a dent there, not just, the vote share could go up, but remember in West Bengal politics, vote share going up will not really work unless you win the seat. It's a winner takes all. So
Absolutely.
there, because often, as you've seen, that even winners in the parties, like in Trinamool, have not been allowed to come back in lots of cases. So in West Bengal, that operates very strongly. You know, people can't hold their fiefdoms unless they win the seat.
Sure.
So that I think, it'll be very surprising if any one of these 9 seats actually crack in favor of BJP.
Right. So taking the point that Subhomoy is making forward, Alok Goswami, is the TMC's biggest fear that the desertion of the vote from the left is going to the BJP and not anywhere else?
Yeah, definitely. That if you have seen this press conference of Mamata Banerjee yesterday evening, if you have seen the body language, the face, the expressions, you can clearly see that she knows what's the ground report. And it's the report of TMC only which has said that so many votes, a large chunk of votes, TMC votes, have shifted towards BJP. And that is the problem why Mamata is infuriated, why Mamata is so baffled. With this thing, I would like to point out two issues which are playing a major role in these elections. First of all, there is no development work, so to say, in West Bengal for the last 10 years or so. And you cannot name any major project that has been taken up. Second is illegal migration from Bangladesh. So all the illegal migrants, they have been given ration cards, they have been given voting cards by this government, this Mamata government, and they have been made TMC workers, TMC voters. And coming back to 9 seats, which are going to poll on Sunday, you can mark my word, Basirhat, Jadavpur, Kolkata South, Kolkata North and Diamond Harbour. These are the seats which could show you some surprising results, and there's going to be a tough fight there.
Okay, tough fight in all these seats is what our panelists are suggesting, but let me go across to Deep Kumar now. You know, Deep Kumar, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that the BJP's vote share will indeed increase in West Bengal. But can that be converted into seats is the biggest question. Do you see that happening?
In the 9 seats that we are talking about, there is a slight possibility in Basirhat. Beyond that, I don't see. At least doesn't look, there could be tough fights here and there, but as my co-panel, one of my co-panelists was saying that yes, these are pocket borrows of TMC. It's not very easy to they have got a vice-like grip on these places, and despite all there is also a perception of threat which cannot be denied at several levels. I mean, it is not so much visible in Calcutta or urban areas, but I'm absolutely sure that if you talk to anybody who's a bit in the rural areas or little interior away from the urban glare, you will find people that there is some kind of a threat. There is also the issue that the flight of votes from the left to the BJP or the flight of votes from TMC to the BJP, the quantum of that or what percentage of vote transfer is happening to BJP is a question that I don't think anyone has got an answer, or even Mamata herself, I don't think she's very sure of what. I mean, she appears to be a little jittery, but it seems it more to do with her own party problem within her own party than the flight of votes that she should be concerned.
Okay.
See, with 40, 45, 43, 44% votes. Suddenly, it needs a humongous change or a shift for anyone to have a crack at this seat.
Okay.
Having said that, I really want to make a little point on the left. I don't think left is absolutely out of the game in this elections, simply because of late left has become a little visible. May not be on the media, but it is on the street, and they're at least in Jadavpur they're putting up a very brave fight with the most visible face, Vikas Ranjan Bhattacharjee, who's a lawyer who fought for both the Sharada and the Narada cases, and he's a very visible person. So
okay.
I think if left has got any fight left in it, I think Jadavpur will show it.
Okay, all right. Why left can't be completely ruled out is what our expert from the ground is suggesting. Closing comments from my panelists here in the studio as well. Yes, Deepak Diwan, you wanted to make a point?
I think it's a West Bengal elections are going to be a real fight in the entire country to be watched.
Okay, it's a fight to be watched to the hilt is what you're suggesting.
Yes.
But more importantly, do you think that, West Bengal is going to decide who's going to form the government in the centre or not?
I think, Frank, I must tell you one thing. When Tripura elections, state assembly elections were being held, nobody believed that BJP would throw left and form the government. See, because in the previous election, 2013, BJP had only 3% of vote share. And in 2018, they got 35 seats of their own. With eight seats their allies got. And they formed the government. Nobody believed that. Nobody ever thought that they could replace this thing. If this can happen in Tripura, let's see what happens in West Bengal.
Okay. Subhomoy Bhattacharjee, where do you think the election is going to be won or lost?
Well, I think the resonance of this election, this violence on Tuesday, is not going to be felt in West Bengal as much as in the other seats outside West Bengal. I think that is where BJP might generate an advantage. These seats are more or less not really there. In fact, they've come possibly a bit too late, even if BJP is trying to garner the advantage in the election phase to really help in other seats. That's soon enough. But yes, for the other seats in other states, this was an interesting political show of strength and whatever to make people feel that there is solidify their positions.
Is West Bengal going to be the game changer really as far as the national perspective is concerned, Alok Goswami, or do you think that it's going to be a state like Uttar Pradesh or one of the other Hindi heartland states?
No, this time I think it's going to be a game changer, because as PM has also said this thing and Amit Shah has also said about it. Now people of Bengal, they have to decide about their future. They have to decide about whether they want to live with the problem of illegal migrants from Bangladesh, or they want to prosper with the country, with the rest of the country. So now the onus is on them, and these 9 seats, they will decide how BJP is going to put up its show in state as well as in totality. But as far as I think, 23rd of May, we could see some surprising results from West Bengal and the whole nation.
Okay, and a quick closing comment from you, Deep Kumar, on the implications of the West Bengal results from a national point of view.
I think I agree partially agree that the elections will be interesting, but how interesting it will be for BJP, one is not very sure. Because as far as we are concerned, sitting here, it doesn't look that BJP has got the firepower and the organization to transfer support into votes.
Okay. Seat share, the vote share, of course, will go up is what the panelists are suggesting. Whether or not that will result in seats remains to be seen. One final phase of voting to be held. Less than 60 seats go to polls in that particular phase. On the 19th of May, results to be declared on the 23rd of May. Exactly in 1 week from now, we will know which way the Indian voter has voted. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Rajyanama. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and sharing your views on West Bengal and what's likely to happen on the 23rd as well. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next time.